Many years ago in Romania, in a little village in Transylvania, I met Bela Cordoba, a gypsy violinist. He played with his family every weekend for wedding parties. When he played, his bow danced across the violin strings. He'd start slowly with long, broad strokes and then finish with a fantastic foot-tapping flourish. As he played, bursts of resin burst off the strings. It was like an incandescence of white smoke, like a magic trick. In a puff of smoke, he created a musical miracle. God gave us the gift of music, he said, because music can break down walls. I've never forgotten that, and over the years, I've realized just how true it is. Bela was talking about the power of music to make a convivial party. But deeper than that, he was also talking about the way music can break down prejudice, the prejudice against gypsies and Roma. In Romania, gypsies are seen as thieves. They're insulted on the streets. Nationalist politicians have suggested they be sent back to India in paper boats. For the gypsies, music tips them from being reviled to being accepted. Not only accepted, but desired. Music gives you something special. In Bela's area of Transylvania, people specially fixed their weddings for when Bela and his Palatka band were available. I've been writing and making films about music for years, and for the last 16 years, I've edited Songlines, the world music magazine that's based in the UK. Now, I don't want to suggest that music needs an agenda or is more worthwhile if it has one. We all know that music can be wonderful, inspiring, exhilarating in its own right. But music can be more than that. As Bela Cordoba suggested, it can bring people together. How does it do that? It shows our humanity. Music reveals our passions, our hopes, our vulnerabilities. I was at a festival in West Africa recently and got talking to a Dutch DJ who was performing there. I love Iranian music, he said. Why is that? Because it makes me realize that Iranians are also human beings. Why is that so strange? So often in the Western media, Iran is portrayed as something monolithic. Iranians as fanatical revolutionary guards or intent on destroying the world with nuclear weapons. This humanity came as a surprise to him. That's the power of music. If you see musicians playing, it's like opening a window on their soul. My favorite Iranian instrument, or one of my favorite Iranian instruments, is the setar. It's a small lute that's played right near the heart. This is Mehdi Rostami. The sound of his playing is so intimate, so delicate. It's like following his thought processes. The smallest movement of his fingers has a big impact on the sound. The little intricacies of his playing are like following a stream of consciousness. The other instrument that really speaks to me is the Kamancheh fiddle. It's full of passion, full of despair, so responsive to the touch. When I hear a master like Kayhan Kalhor, it's searing. It's like tongues of burning fire are coming off the instrument. For Iranians, or Persian speakers, it's often the poetry that goes along with the music that also brings it a special attraction. The words of Rumi and Hafez are used again and again. They both write about love, longing, spirituality, universal themes. Although Rumi lived 800 years ago, his poetry has become incredibly popular in the West. And Hafez, he was writing 700 years ago. His poems were influential on the German Romantic poet Goethe, who wrote poems of his own inspired by Hafez, which he called the West-Eastern Divan. Like the musicians, these poets, Rumi and Hafez, are people that we can relate to. Iranian music has a long, rich, and unbroken tradition. Even though there are religious restrictions, particularly since the 1979 revolution, classical music has a rich place in the Islamic Republic. Artists like Shajarian, like Shazam Nazari, like Hussein Alizadeh, like Kayhan Kalhor, they've become ambassadors for Persian culture around the world. They too are breaking down walls, political ones. They're breaking down the politics of distrust and demonization and showing their humanity to people who don't expect it, like my DJ friend. Around the world, there are many people who've recognized the transformative power of music. In Venezuela, Jose Antonio Abreu started El Sistema in 1975. It uses orchestral music as a means of development. It gives children the opportunity to develop discipline and take them away from lives of drugs and crime. Now, across Venezuela, there are hundreds of thousands of children involved in El Sistema, and the Simon Bolivar Symphony Orchestra has become its international showcase. Or there's Daniel Barenboim's West-East Divan Orchestra, which takes its name, of course, from Goethe's poems based on Hafez. But he, too, is breaking down political borders. The orchestra features musicians from Israel, from Palestine, from the Arab states, bringing people together who would never meet in everyday life. Both these musical initiatives have received international commendation. But on the other side of the world, in India, there's another way music is being used for social transformation that really inspires me. In Calcutta, there's an NGO called Banglanatak.com. They started out by trying to help village musicians earn a sustainable living, and they've succeeded in doing that. But also, it's brought some surprising benefits as well. Come with me to this village called Gorbanga. 12 years ago, it was in decline. It was dirty and unkempt. The water was polluted and undrinkable. The musicians who lived there, they scraped out a living as unskilled laborers, pulling rickshaws, selling and drinking illicit alcohol. The music that they played most evenings was nothing more than a consolation. But the village I arrived in 2 years ago was a beautiful place, clean and immaculate, with well-built houses and swept yards. These were the unexpected benefits. Health and sanitation had improved. Migration to the cities had decreased. So I sat on a mat to listen to the musicians play their music. They have a beautiful dotara lute and a dholak barrel drum. Between the phrases of their songs, which are mostly spiritual ones about how God is to be found in the human heart, just like Rumi, between their songs, the dholak, played with a plectrum, would weave fantastic melodies accompanied by taps on the drum. These were no longer submissive, depressed, humble beings. They'd been reborn as tigers, proud of their culture. Basically, they'd been rebranded as artists rather than unskilled laborers, and taught the techniques of presentation, performance, and microphone technique. Most of these guys can't read or write, but how can you call someone illiterate when they can sing 1,000 songs? Over 10 years ago, when this project started, these musicians were earning on average 500 rupees a month. They're now earning about 10,000 rupees a month. Now, that's still not a lot. It's about $180. but that's much better than $8 a month. On the back wall of their performing platform, there's a map with colored drawing pins showing where they've played around the world. China, Japan, Portugal, France, the UK. And now they have a festival in Gorbanga itself, attracting 6,000 people each January to this tiny village, a lot of them from overseas. And that's something I'd love to do, to go back there to their festival, because it was music that brought us together and led me to meet these people who I would never otherwise have encountered. But what if you're not a Romanian gypsy, a devotee of Iranian music, or a fakir in West Bengal? I believe music can break down walls for all of us. And there are festivals that have been specially created for breaking down barriers and opening minds, such as the Fez Festival of Sacred Music in Morocco. The idea is simple: to take music from any faith or any creed and put them all on an equal platform. It might be American gospel, it might be Tibetan Buddhist dancing, Jewish Sephardic romances, or West African song. This is Rokia Traore from Mali, who was performing at last year's festival. When you hear music like this, admire it, even understand it a little, it makes a difference. It changes perceptions. Now, the Fez Festival hasn't prevented subsequent wars in the Middle East, but anyone who's been there has encountered a vast range of cultures and people, and will have seen how untrue so many of the stereotypes of the Islamic world can be. In Fez, most evenings I go to the Sufi nights, the free Sufi nights, where different brotherhoods come and perform their music in praise of God. Sometimes it's reverential and devotional. At times it's wild and uplifting, with blaring trumpets and oboes and thunderous drums. It brings a great crowd of people together. There's me, a city-born Londoner. Next to me, a Moroccan lady in a headscarf with her 2 children. Over there, a group of cool Casablanca kids. We're all united by this glorious music that sets the heart racing. If you listen to the music or see the art and culture of another people, you get a connection with them. You get more understanding and less fear. It's like the Iranians becoming more human. An enemy is simply someone whose story you haven't heard yet, goes an old saying. And I would add someone whose music you haven't yet encountered. I sometimes wonder if George Bush or Tony Blair had been to the Fez Festival, would they have invaded Iraq? Senior politicians don't tend to go to mind-expanding music festivals. Maybe that's also a problem. So, can music save the world? It certainly hasn't stopped wars. People have been singing John Lennon's Give Peace a Chance since 1969. But if music can't save the world, I think it can change it by creating a place where dialogues and discoveries can happen, and we can share our humanity. As Bella Cordoba, the gypsy fiddler, said, music is a gift. It's given me great opportunities to see the world and fantastic new friendships, more than I would ever have thought possible. So go out and listen, experience the music for yourself, and the more alien and unusual, the better. You never know what walls it's going to break down for you, or what a liberating experience it can be. Thank you.